Here we are in the shop, getting ready to get started on this build for an urn for my father's ashes. I was to Woodcraft in Madison yesterday. I picked up a couple couple nice mahogany boards. This is where I'm starting with, but the first thing I'm starting with so this last April I hurt my elbow. I've blown out the distal biceps tendon in both of my elbows now, but I hurt my right arm. It kept me out of the shop and out of doing anything for quite a while. Slowly trying to rehab and work my way back in. I started having trouble with my shoulder. So I really haven't been out and haven't done much in the shop, but the shop reflects that very easily. It's a disaster out here. So the first thing to do is to work my way through a little bit of cleanup out here. That's where we start, and then I start making measurements and start laying out the box. So. I want to talk about my process, and so we'll see how this goes. Maybe less high speed for some things. The board I have here is 14 and 3/4 wide. This nice piece of mahogany I was able to get my hands on. And if I'm going for square, what I'm going to do is I have a wooden yardstick here. And 14 3/4 is ish. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is. It's not bad. 14 3/4. I'm going to mark out so I can take some off the edges and get things nice and squared up. I'm going to mark 14 1/2 right now. And yeah, that gives me a little bit. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to take this and because what I'm looking for is the lid of the box, and I want to select my grain for the lid to be the best flow of things that I possibly can. When you're working off a piece this wide, I mean, it's got the way the growth rings, the way the wood is working. I want it to be interesting. Excuse me. I want it to be interesting, but I also I don't want it to be distractingly interesting. So since I have this marked out here, what I can do is I'm just going to be able to slide this ruler around and try and like when you see directors do that cinematography thing, you know, they're holding up and they're trying to get a picture of what the camera is going to see in the lens. That's what I'm trying to visualize in the grain too. As I move down, I'm trying to get. I'm trying to make it the best thing I can looks wise out of this board. And since this is the cleaner side, I'm looking at this side, but I will probably flip it and look around to the other side. So I feel fortunate. I kind of wanted it to work out this way, so maybe I'm forcing it. I don't really think that's a real thing, but I do think the grain at the end of this board is really the nicest, and that's nice on two accounts. One, because I found a section of nice, fairly even grain with not a whole lot of extra distraction to it, so it should just flow and look nice as a whole look. But it also conserves, economy-wise, it's very much conservative that I get the whole rest of the board to take other pieces from without taking a chunk out of the middle and then ending up with an offcut that I can't use because it's too short or too weird. And so yeah, this is where I'm getting my lid off of this far end. The problem I'm running into is there's some reaction fibers in the wood, some stress in the board. When you have a board this wide, it's not unusual. So as I'm sawing through it, the board is moving, and because the tension is being released, and so it's pinching on the blade. And I was trying to get away with it, but it's not quite letting me get away with it. So use a little bit of ancient technology here in a wedge to relieve some of that stress. Or to counteract some of that stress. And this isn't an unusual thing to have to do with hand saw. So now I have the building block to work on. And actually, overall, it's not a bad little piece. It's relatively flat. It's got a little bit of a cup to it, which is super normal. I will plane it and get it mostly flat. I also plan to insert some flattening battens into it that I'm going to use a joinery called a sliding dovetail to help. They'll run across the grain. They'll help keep the top flat. They'll keep it from warping and misshaping over time. You'll have wood working against wood in a mechanical fashion, and it'll help keep it flat for hopefully for however long it needs to be. But the next part is to clean this up a little bit with some planes, then maybe take it over, put it on the table saw and get it squared to exactly where I want it squared to. Yeah, it's just this one corner is a little bit of a trouble spot, and that's normal. And So it occurred to me while I'm working here that I'm just going straight forward, and I'm using a bunch of hand tool woodworking techniques. Some of them, if you're watching the videos, you may be familiar with. Some of them you might not be. I'm not going to stop to teach the techniques building this box. I'm more interested in doing this video about the design decisions and just documenting the process as opposed to it's not a how-to, it's a this is what's happening. It's a line I'm kind of stealing and kind of bastardizing from Adam Savage's videos, where his are that happened videos, not a how-to video, and that's what this is. And although I'm talking about how to design, or how I'm going to design this as I go, I do have some other videos about hand tool woodworking out there a little bit. There's lots of other great resources out there. Go find them. Christopher Schwartz at Lost Art Press is the primary go-to in my book for these kind of things. And if you look him up, if you don't know him, you can find all kinds of woodworking advice and hand tool stuff there. Again, Chris Schwartz at Lost Art Press. If you don't know, you should. I have a flattened, squared chunk of mahogany for the lid. I've decided it's going to be a lift-off lid off of the box, so it's going to get 4 lips around each side to capture it. Excuse me, to capture it on top of the box. That means the bottom of the box will have to have sides, 4 sides, and a matching plinth to offset the thickness of the lip that I'm going to put around the top of this. I have some walnut over there, and that's probably what I'll use for the plinth and for the wrap around the lid. And the lid will be captured in place with 4 brass screws that'll screw into threaded captures that I'll put in the edges of the bottom. The name of the hardware is escaping me at the moment, and that's fine. But what I do have is the top of the lid done and flat. So I'm going to sticker it, which means I'm going to put some pieces of wood underneath it so that air can get to all sides of it, so that any wiggling or things it doesn't react to air on one side and not on the other. That means this. That means 2 things. That means one, I don't think I'll have to take any more off that big white piece of mahogany, which will be nice. I bought the entire lot for this project, and if I need that, then so be it. But as it is, if I can get away with the 4 sides of the box off of here, that'll be fantastic. And then sorry, that'll be fantastic. And I'll get to work, but I do have this measurement now, which means I can build these to that measurement, and the sides of the box will be the same size as the lid. Again, the lid will just fit over the top, just like that. This looks a little out of sequence, and it is. This is maybe my third, fourth time recording this section of video, because my technology is wonderful, and somehow my iPhone keeps encrypting it in a way that it will only play on my iPhone. And I'm sure there's a stupid reason why. It doesn't matter. I changed some settings. Hopefully this will be better. I keep recording it because it's an important part of talking about the design of this urn, this box. I believe when you left me in the video, I was breaking down the sides of the box, trying to figure out what I wanted for length, what I wanted for sizing, and I had spoken about wanting to do walnut wrap around the lid and a walnut plinth around the base to offset the top, the wrap on the top. I've had some time to, I had time to think about it while I was breaking down the board, and one of the things I realized was that the board, which you'll see me break down in a minute in this video, is 8 inches wide. The great thing about this being 8 inches wide is I don't need the box to be sides to be taller than 6 inches. I think that the 6 inches will be a okay size. What that does allow me to do is allows me to take 2 inches off of this board and resaw the thickness of that and get the plinths and the wrap for the lid out of the same board. Now, the design, the better design part of woodworking means what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to match my board along with the wraps. So when I take 2 inches off of this board, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then keep track of this board, which will be, maybe this will be the front of the box, and then I will also keep track of the section that I take off and then I resaw in half. And this same section that I take off will become both the plinth at the bottom of the board and the wrap at the top. So it'll have the same board, the same grain, the same matching as the side on all sides as it comes down. It's kind of a odd and neat little trick, but it keeps all grain together and makes everything match up. And it's something that a normal or a lay person might not notice intrinsically. They might not look at it and go, oh, hey, look at all that grain matching. But when everything just kind of lines up together, it really it gels together. The way the grain flows, the way the box flows, the way the wood works together with itself, all makes for more of a harmonious feel. It strikes more of a chord, to go through to a musical thing. All the notes in the box line up together to make a very nice chord. A triad per side, with the side and the plinth and the wrap making a triad on each side of the box to go around. Another thing I'm thinking about, and I have to do an experiment before I make up my mind on it, is I'm thinking about still offsetting the coloring of those the wrap and the plinth, by using I believe it's a Japanese woodworking technique where you char the wood and then burnish it and polish it to a sheen with the charring. I know there's a name for the technique. I will murder the name if I try to say it, and I don't have it in my memory bank at the moment. But I'm thinking that might be an okay way to use the same grain, use the same boards, but still offer a contrast in the design, that because contrast makes things stand out as well, makes it catching to the eye. I think the other thing to talk about when I talk about grain is, then this is usually a basic thing to talk about for woodworkers making boxes, but design-wise, when I design the grain, if this was my whole board that I started with, the whole length of the whole board, I cut it into 4 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. As I line the box up, I'm going to line the box up so that the grain of the box flows, so the whole board looks like it's wrapping all the way around. And I will end up with one corner that's a little mismatched. But that's normal. That is avoidable through some odd tricks, but the board I have isn't thick enough to really pull off those tricks well. But again, this part of the design is part of the thinking you have to kind of go through when you're working with a box, because you want the grain to all play with itself, because wood grain is, you can't take 2 boards and have maybe you can get lucky and get similar or close enough to trick the eye wood grain, but really there's nothing that beats getting as much as you can out of the same board, and even the same run, the same length of board, if you will. That really is a way of thinking about breaking down your stock, and a way of thinking about planning out your project that takes quite a bit of practice, quite a bit of thought, and a bit of forethought and planning. You have to get used to being able to think like that in order to pull it off well. I think I'm finally at the point in my career where that does happen. But hopefully this video plays, and we'll carry on with the next part. And I think the video wraps up pretty soon, so just hold on.
Well, that's it for today. I'm not trying to do the Adam Savage one-day build here. Damn, I reference him a lot. Like I said early on, I think I got a little bit of a shoulder issue that I'm trying to work back up. It's feeling quite fatigued right now after what I've done, and getting a little shaky. Taking it at manageable size bites is, I'd rather be smart than destroy something and not be able to do it at all. So, yeah, I've been there. But I got my lid, my 4 sides. Lid is final shaped to size. To size, the lid is The lid is final shaped to size. The sides are all roughed out and marked up and ready to go. And I'll be out here to do more of this a little bit tomorrow. So, till tomorrow.